Hello, my name is Saba Bazargan Forward. I'm a professor at UC San Diego, and I'm going to be presenting an introduction on the concept of the BPP, the beneficiary pays principle. So the issue is whether the innocent beneficiaries of wrongdoing owe compensation to the victims of that wrongdoing, if it's impossible to force the actual wrongdoer to pay up. The view that innocent beneficiaries do indeed owe compensation is known as the beneficiary pays principle, or the BPP. It has implications for the ethics of climate change, for global poverty, and a variety of other harms that we collectively commit. And what follows, I'm going to present 6 features of the BPP, and I'm going to be assuming a trio of actors. Beneficiary, which is an individual who innocently benefits; wrongdoer, which is an individual who commits the wrong conferring the benefit; and victim, which is an individual who suffers the wrong. And I should note that the BPP is understood differently by different theorists, so some of what I say here might be controversial to some. So first, the BPP comes in 2 flavors. On the victim-centered version, BPP is primarily about ensuring that the victim is compensated. Accordingly, the compensatory duty persists only so long as the victim can be compensated. If for whatever reason she can't be, maybe she's dead or has already been compensated or is impossible to identify, then the BPP no longer applies. The beneficiary is permitted to keep the benefits. Alternatively, on the beneficiary-centered version of BPP, it's primarily about ensuring that the beneficiary does not profit from wrongdoer's wrong. On this view, the beneficiary has a duty towards victim, but if for whatever reason victim can't be compensated, the beneficiary must still disgorge the benefits. Okay, the second characteristic of the BPP is that it applies only to non-generative benefits. In some cases, beneficiary might not be required to compensate victim when the benefits in question provide an opportunity to earn further benefits, which the beneficiary acquires through the sweat of her own brow. So here's an example from the literature on BPP. So wrongdoer, to ensure that his enemy victim doesn't get into Harvard Law School, bribes the committee into rejecting her application. So Harvard then admits the next person on the list, which is beneficiary. And if wrongdoer hadn't bribed the committee, victim would not have been admitted instead of beneficiary, since they had only one spot left and victim was more qualified. So beneficiary works hard, obtains his law degree, and embarks on a work-intensive but lucrative career as a trial attorney and earns millions that he wouldn't have otherwise earned. Likewise, if victim had not been wrongly rejected, she would have earned her degree and accrued millions in an equally lucrative career. Instead, she ends up with a respectable but middling career as a professor. Now, BPP doesn't yield the consequence that beneficiary owes victims the millions that the wrong enabled him to learn. Though beneficiary had the opportunity to earn those benefits only because of the wrongdoer committed, those benefits were nonetheless earned partly through his own labor. As such, he is at least partially entitled to them. To wrest the entirety of those benefits from him would be unjust, given the role his labor played in earning those benefits. So I'm going to call benefits of these sorts generative benefits, because beneficiary generates at least some of those benefits himself. BPP primarily concerns non-generative benefits, benefits that fall on beneficiary like manna from heaven. The third feature of the BPP is that it applies not simply because beneficiary possesses victim's assets. So it's important not to confuse BPP with restitutionary duties to return property to its rightful owner. Crucially, BPP is supposed to apply even in cases where no property is transferred or converted and then transferred from victim to beneficiary. So the BPP does not reduce to a principle of restitution. Fourth, beneficiary has an enforceable directed duty to victim. So some have attempted to debunk the BPP by arguing that it has no independent normative force. They explain beneficiary's duty to victim by appealing instead to luck egalitarianism. They know in particular that victim suffers bad brute luck, while beneficiary suffers good brute luck. Given luck egalitarian premises, it follows that beneficiary ought to aid victim. But on this rendering, beneficiary would owe aid to any victim of bad brute luck rather than to victim specifically. Whereas according to BPP, beneficiary's duty is directed. The luck egalitarian debunking move, then, fails to accommodate the directed nature of beneficiary's duty. Fifth feature, the BPP applies even if wrongdoer has no intention to benefit beneficiary. By keeping the benefits wrongdoer intended beneficiary to receive, beneficiary thereby makes it so that wrongdoer's evil plan succeeds. And this provides a reason for beneficiary to relinquish the benefit. The argument might be right. I mean, that might indeed provide a reason, but crucially, BPP is supposed to apply even if wrongdoer does not intend to benefit beneficiary. And finally, the BPP applies even if beneficiary is not a cause of what wrongdoer does. If beneficiary is a cause of what wrongdoer does, then victim might have a claim against beneficiary even if beneficiary is not morally responsible for being a cause. Beneficiary might have a duty at the bar of strict moral liability. But even if this is so, the BPP is supposed to apply even in cases where beneficiary is not a cause. So I'll sum up. According to the version of BPP I defend, the beneficiary of a wrongdoer's actions has a directed, enforceable duty to compensate the victim of that wrongdoing by transferring to her the non-generative benefits conferred upon the beneficiary. And she has this duty because the beneficiary benefited from wrongdoer's actions, rather than because she caused it, or because she sought the benefits, or because the wrongdoer intended beneficiary to benefit. Thank you.